Did you eat your placenta?
You're in diapers. Most women tear when they give birth.
Ugh. Hey you guys, we're back. I'm Channon Rose, for those of you guys that don't know me, and this is Brett Larkin. We did a part 1 to this video, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check down below in the description box and go watch that first. And then in this video, we're gonna be doing an uncensored Q&A about postpartum, and she's gonna tell us all of the stuff that people do not wanna talk about, are embarrassed about, or sometimes just don't really think about to tell people. So the first thing I want to ask you right off the bat is, did you eat your placenta?
Such a good question. I didn't. You know, a lot of people in the like yoga or more natural childbirth community are really pro eating your placenta. And you can encapsulate it, or you can just eat it raw in like a smoothie.
Right.
Just take a chunk off. And I did a bunch of research, and again, we talked about women not judging other women, so no judgments, everyone can do whatever they want to do. But after the research I did, decided I wasn't interested in doing it. So I didn't do it. And the reason, if you're curious what research I looked into, but the placenta is providing nutrients to your baby, but it's also blocking out and filtering all the stuff that your baby shouldn't be getting as well.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Right? Like it's filtering all the toxins out as well. So to eat the whole placenta, especially because I read a lot about women feeling awesome and they're like, eating my placenta saved me postpartum. But I also read studies of women saying like, I felt awful after I ate it.
Really?
So I was just kind of like, the jury's still out for me, and it just seems like a lot of extra work. It's a lot of extra money, and I was kind of budget conscious too. I told you, like, I really just wanted to spend my money with my midwife, so I just was like, I'm not gonna do it. We threw it in the fridge. I didn't let my husband throw it away right away. I was like, because I kind of wasn't sure, but I ended up using it, and then we just threw it away.
It looks so crazy, by the way.
Yes, and I have a video of it.
Do you?
I do.
Is it on your Instagram, or where can people find it?
It's gonna be on YouTube. It'll probably be actually out by the time, so we'll put that in the description.
Yeah, go look for it. That's so crazy. So Brett had a home birth, but she wasn't planning on having an unassisted home birth. It just happened because it happened so fast for her, and she wasn't planning it. So I know that we go in and we, plan to have this natural birth, but then we also plan to have someone there to like deliver the placenta, clamp the cord, like do all these things that like maybe we didn't think about doing. So what happened, and how did you manage all of that after the baby was born? Yeah, so the baby being born was just such a huge surprise because it happened so fast. So we had my midwife on FaceTime on the phone, and luckily she was driving to our house already because we had told her I was in labor. So we were lucky because she was about 10-15 minutes away. Okay. So she FaceTimed with us, and the baby flew out, and it was so comedic, Shannon, because it was literally like my husband was, once the baby came out, my husband was like holding the baby. He was like holding the phone with FaceTime. We have a giant German Shepherd who like, everything just happened so fast. We didn't put him away. So he was in the bathroom with us, just barking like crazy. And my husband was like, I should go put the dog away. And he starts like walking away with the baby. And that's when we realized it was an umbilical cord. Right. Yeah. So I was like, stop. Yeah. So he handed the baby to me, and luckily, because the midwife was, 10-15 minutes out at that point, I just stayed. My husband was like, oh, do you want me to help you get to bed or do something? Because I was on my bathroom floor. Okay. And I was like, nope, sitting right here. I was like, I'm not moving till Morgan gets here, who is our midwife's name. I was just like, I'm just staying right here. So I just held the baby. I was just like leaning up against our bathtub. And was your placenta still inside of you at this point? My placenta was still inside of me at this point. So that's the first thing to know about the placenta is I think what's standard is it's like 20, 30, 40 minutes, anywhere I think up to an hour. Oh, wow. And then, again, studies say different things, but everything I read really said that keeping the cord, like not cutting the cord quickly, like keeping the cord attached for as long as possible is good. Beneficial, right? Right. So I was like, I'm just gonna hang out with babe, and I was so happy when she got there. Oh, really? So happy. Okay. Yeah. So she came, and then she just triaged everything right away. She was like, okay, let's get you to bed. Let's clean this. Let's do that. And then she helped me get into bed, and first she just let me like hang out with the baby. I was just blissful because I was so relieved to have my baby outside of me safely. I mean, what a relief. Yeah. And
And then she said, okay, we should start thinking about birthing the placenta. So, I mean, if we're talking about like postpartum immediately after birth, that's the first thing you have to do is you have to birth the placenta. And it's kind of bad news because you're like, I just went through this really intense, potentially a little bit painful experience. I don't want to have to do something else. But honestly, the placenta is so easy because your cervix at that point is so open and the placenta is like soft and squishy on like a baby's head and it's smaller. So it was like uncomfortable.
Did it just plop out?
No, she kind of was like pulling on the cord and pressing on my belly.
Did that feel funny?
Yeah, it felt, giving birth is the weirdest sensation because it's like something coming through your cervix. So I was just like, oh, that's that crazy sensation again.
Yeah.
But it was over so fast.
Okay.
And then what they do is they look at the placenta to make sure no parts or pieces are missing because if a part or piece is missing, it can cause an infection if it stays in there. So she just was inspecting the placenta really carefully, and that's where we have the videos of her doing it.
Okay.
And you know, also just pressing on my belly to make sure. Another thing that can happen is there's a danger of hemorrhage, right? When the placenta detaches, because your placenta was attached to your wall of your uterus. So that's the thing with postpartum. I kept wanting to run around, and she kept reminding me, you have a wound, an open wound the size of a dinner plate, where your placenta was, inside your body. Okay. So she's like, you need to rest. She said, if you had an open wound the size of a dinner plate on your outside body,
you'd be resting.
You'd be resting. So I thought that was a really good analogy.
Yeah. This might seem really silly, but I thought like when the baby comes out, you know how you have like a belly, it's like you think the baby comes out and then the belly is gone and your belly goes flat. That's what I thought. And then I realized that's not the case. So what happens?
Your belly, it's awful. It looks awful. It doesn't feel awful. It just looks awful. Like your belly's just like this empty water balloon. It's weird, and you're just like, ugh. Because, you know, the amniotic fluid, like everything that was with the baby, like gushes out. Right. So it's just like this de-inflated bag. Right. So I think the best way is think of it like you're gonna look like you're 24, 25 weeks pregnant. Right after you give birth. Okay. And then how long does it take for your body to kind of like snap back or get back to normal? Again, I think every woman's different, but one thing that really helped me is I talked to another like yoga YouTuber friend who had given birth, and she told me, set your expectations really low. She was like, 9 months to make a baby, 9 months to get your body back in shape. Okay. And good advice. You know, and I think if you just because really it's 9 months of your body transforming. So if you just are like, I'm not even gonna really worry about this until 9 months later, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like give your body 9 months to kind of undo what it did or, you know, whatever. That for me was hugely helpful because otherwise I think I would have been panicking. Like, why isn't this going back quicker? Yeah, I'd freak out. I'd be like, are you sure there's not another baby in there? Like, what's going on? Still a bump there. Exactly. So that went down, you know, a month later I felt, you know, still not myself, but at least I didn't look pregnant anymore. Yeah. And then, I mean, thanks to all the yoga, I've snapped back super fast. I bet. I mean, there's videos of me up in sports bras on my channel and people are like, what, you had a baby? And I mean, I just do yoga. I don't know. So it really works for me. But I think just be kind to yourself, give yourself a ton of time. And you know, whether you get stretch marks or not, like that's all genetic. Like there's, I mean, of course, moisturize, right? But there's so much we can't control, and your baby's the best thing that ever happened. So just don't sweat it. Yeah. Okay, so this is uncensored, so hopefully you're okay with this. But like, what was your vagina like after giving birth? Good question. So I think a lot of people don't talk a lot about what happens after you give birth. You bleed. It's kind of like the period you didn't have for 9 months shows up. So you're in diapers, the baby's in diapers, you're just in diapers for a couple weeks. Yeah. And you know, then wearing really heavy pads, it's just like your period is happening. And your vagina's swollen. That's something that I was not expecting, that no one really told me about. It's swollen like a football, like swollen, large. And it's very normal that you tear. It's just really normal. Like most women tear when they give birth. You don't feel it, or like I definitely didn't feel it. But afterwards, your care provider will sort of assess you and tell you what's up. So once my midwife helped me to the bed and we got the placenta out, and she kind of had to look and like damage control what happened down there. So I was so scared. like what she was gonna tell me.
What did she say?
So she said I had a 2nd-degree tear.
Okay.
Which is very normal. So a 1st-degree tear is like the smallest one, and then 2nd degree is a little bit bigger, and then 3rd degree I think is like
bad.
Yeah, not bad, but you know, needs a lot of stitches.
Okay.
So 2nd-degree tear is really normal, and I had assumed that the only way you could tear was sort of like towards your butt, right? Like tear down.
But you can tear both ways.
But you actually can tear both ways. And in my case, my tearing wasn't up or down. It was on the inner right side of my like vaginal wall, because my son came out with his little arm like up like this, and yeah, and so he just swiped my right side like really bad, like scraped, and his little eye was like a little bit red too because of it. So my tearing was actually like more internal into the side, which was really interesting.
Yeah.
But she just stitched it up, and they give you like a little shot so it's numb.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
it's just like a little uncomfortable, like compared to giving birth.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. And you're just ecstatic. Like you don't have to worry about this stuff, because the whole time you're just like, my baby's here, right? So it's just not a big deal. What's a big deal is postpartum when everyone leaves you. Yeah. So we can talk about that. But yeah, so she just stitched me up. And this is like big advice I have for everyone, because I felt like I read every book on birth, natural birth. I listened to like hundreds of birth story podcasts.
Yeah.
No one told me the essential thing that you need is, if you do have a vaginal birth and you have stitches, get a couple things. Get a peri bottle, a sitz bath, and like Epsom salts. A sitz bath, it's like a little bath that goes on top of your toilet.
Yeah.
Do you know what those
I've heard of them. I've heard of this sitz bath. I've never seen them before.
Yeah.
We'll insert a picture here.
It's really, really helpful, because you can just like squat in it with warm water, and you can put salt, olive oil. Like there's different sitz bath recipes for postpartum.
It's like a spa for your vagina.
It's a spa for your vagina, exactly. And it helps the stitches dissolve.
Okay.
And it helps you feel better, and it just helps you want to clean down there all the time because you're bleeding so much.
Yeah, you don't want to get infection.
So the sitz bath was amazing.
Okay.
I was doing them like several times a day.
Oh, wow.
And one woman I know who was doing them like all the time throughout the day, she said her stitches like healed so fast because of doing them.
Okay.
So, and no book told me that. And the peri bottle is just like a squeeze bottle that squeezes up.
Like a douche kind of?
A little bit, yeah. So after you go to the bathroom, you can squeeze it. And you can get postpartum bath herbs, but I really just like the salts, like the Epsom salts. I thought were fantastic, and it just feels so good. Oh, I loved it.
The peri bottle, does it go inside of you, or you just wash the outside?
No, but just so like after you go to, like if you pee or something, you can keep everything clean, and you squeeze it and it goes straight up.
Gotcha.
To clean out everything.
Gotcha.
So very essential. I also really liked having a hot water bottle, because not to get all yogic on your channel,
no, go for it.
But the yogic energy, or the subtle body energy of pregnancy, is very yang, right? You're like creating a baby, so it's all about heat and energy. And then after you give birth, the postpartum period is like yin. So like pregnancy, think summer. Postpartum, think like winter, right? So all of a sudden, winter's coming. So all of a sudden you were carrying this baby inside you, and you know, pregnant women tend to run hot and all this stuff. And then once your baby's gone, it's like this void. So I think like just having a hot water bottle, like just to promote your own healing and feel good. I really liked kind of like just clutching a hot water bottle during my whole postpartum, like those couple days after giving birth. I really liked it.
What about a heating pad?
That would work too.
Okay.
That worked too. We had a heating pad, and my son was using the heating pad for everything, because the best way to think of like a newborn infant, I came up with this, I think it's helpful, is like they're like a little rock star. They're very sensitive.
Right.
So we were using the heating pad to like preheat his changing table before we like moved him from the bed to the change, because you know, otherwise they're crying because everything's just so new to them.
Yeah.
So the heating pad was just great, like would pre-warm his crib or his bassinet before we put him in the bassinet, and would pre-warm the changing table before. And just like the first 80 hours, you know, I felt like that really made a big difference. It was trial and error figuring this out.
Yeah.
But he was just so much happier when it wasn't like he was moving from like a cold environment to a warm one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, it just makes sense.
No, totally.
Like I'd want my towel preheated if I could.
I know. My mom used to do that when I was little. She would, like when we get out of the shower, she would take like a warm towel from out of the dryer. That's so nice. Okay, I love it. Okay, another thing is, I heard, and you'll have to tell me if this happened to you, after birth or whatever, not only do you like bleed and bleed a lot, I heard like you bleed a lot more than people think that you're supposed to bleed.
A lot more than you
think. And that's normal.
Normal.
But also like they were saying, you know, like the baby's house was in there and the baby's house has to come out too. And so sometimes like chunks and things will come out along, like big chunks of stuff will come out. Is that normal? And did that happen to you?
Yeah, I think that's normal maybe like the first week.
Okay.
But then it just looks like your period.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first week maybe expect to have like
and you want
foreign
diapers
things coming out.
You want to be in diapers.
Okay.
And my home birth kit actually gave us diapers. And I think if you're at the hospital, they give you diapers and you should steal extra. And they're not called diapers. They're called Chuck's pad. No, I don't know what they're called, but they're like little underwear.
Like the mesh underwear type things? Okay, yeah. And I hear everyone say steal stuff from the hospital, like get as much as you can.
Or I was telling Shannon before we started recording, just order a home birth kit.
Yes.
Because you never know.
That's so smart.
I didn't, you know, I wanted a home birth. I did not want an unassisted. It was really funny because I was like, I want a natural childbirth. This was too natural. Like I didn't want to be completely alone. But again, you just don't know. Birth is so unpredictable.
Right.
So even if you're like the person who's planning your C-section, which is again great, everyone should do what they want to do. Maybe just buy the home birth kit because you just don't know. You could end up going into like super early labor, like I did. I wasn't super early, but just fast labor.
Yeah.
And like that, having that home birth kit saved us. And even if you're like still don't think you're gonna use it, it has just helpful stuff in there. Like it had all these like medical supplies we ended up needing. It just had a bunch of the diapers.
Yeah.
It just has helpful stuff. So
get those diapers, girl. Where can you get those diapers? On Amazon? I'm like,
no, my midwife gave me a link and I will gladly share it with you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like a special website that just makes these kits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. Gotta get one of those.
Yeah, get one of those. You never know.
Yeah, even if you're planning a hospital birth and wanting an epidural or even a C-section, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Birth is so unpredictable. And you're just gonna have this peace of mind if you know you're prepared for every scenario.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
So how did your vagina feel? I know we talked about stuff that's coming out of it, but like how did it actually feel? And how long did it take to actually feel back to normal?
So it just felt sore and swollen, just kind of like it had been beat up, which it had.
Yeah.
And you know, like you're kind of shuffling around when you walk.
Yeah.
And it definitely was swollen for a long, let's say a long time. The biggest thing that people are concerned about is they want your stitches to heal. So they don't want you to like start running or going, not that you feel like doing that anyway, but you don't want to do anything that would cause the stitches to break. But it wasn't like I was in pain. You know what I mean? It was more just uncomfortable.
Okay, that's good to know.
Right?
Yeah.
Or, you know, if you've had really rough sex, how your vagina just feels like
sore
the next day.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just, you just feel like that for a while.
Okay, that's good to know.
You know, like maybe 2 weeks or a month. And then it just gets better. It gets a little bit better every day. And, you know, you keep doing the sitz bath, you just keep cleaning everything, the swelling goes down. And then, you know, it's still bleeding, but you're kind of just like, okay, I just have my period forever now and it feels more normal.
So one thing that I heard sometimes people say is worse than actual birthing a child is breastfeeding. Do you want to talk a little bit about breastfeeding and what that's like?
Yes, we cannot get through this discussion without talking about breastfeeding because
I feel like this could be its whole own video. But
I know.
We'll try to like
well, my summary is that it is challenging, not because the act of breastfeeding is challenging, but just because you do it so much. And nothing prepared me for how much you will breastfeed your baby.
Really?
I read all these books on breastfeeding. Again, I'm a certified prenatal teacher. Like I've done so much studying, reading, and all the books talk about how to latch your baby. And then like what happens if your breasts get infected or mastitis or stuff like that. You're gonna figure out how to latch your baby or not, like in which case you won't end up breastfeeding, in the first like 10 days.
Oh, really?
Or I'd even say the first 3 days.
Wow.
Like it's either gonna
work or it's not.
And then you're good. What I wasn't expecting was just like how constant it would be, how beached I would be. Like, meaning I felt like a beached whale. Like I was just sitting on the couch, sitting on the bed. He needed to breastfeed every 45 minutes and his feedings were 45 minutes. I mean,
oh my gosh.
I'm a very active person. I like run a yoga channel on YouTube. I'm used to posting like 3 classes a week. I practice like multiple times a day. So for me, having to not exercise and just sit and breastfeed this baby, even after my lady parts were like all healed and well, just sitting day after day, breastfeeding over and over again. I mean, it was
A lot.
hard.
Yeah.
So much harder than labor, so much harder than a contraction, because it's just constant
Yeah.
and never ending. And when you're in that place, you can't see the other side, because especially if you're exclusively breastfeeding, no one can help you.
Right.
It's like family can feed you, they can do dishes, but every time the baby cries,
It's up to you, girl.
it's getting handed to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's just a lot. I just was not expecting.
Did you pump at all? Did you also pump when you were like breastfeeding? Or
I did.
Okay.
I started, I gave just a month, like, let's just breastfeed, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna leave the house, it's fine. Or, we were just doing little walks around the block. But then I did start pumping just so my husband could give the baby a bottle, and I wanted the baby to be able to know how to take a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, it doesn't really relieve you, because the only thing worse than breastfeeding is pumping, in my opinion.
Really?
I mean, pumping's not fun either. You're still
Yeah.
attached, you're still seated.
Yeah.
This is hysterical. I actually tried to pump once while on my exercise bike.
Oh, really?
That's how
How'd that go?
addicted I am to exercise. It didn't go well. It was like
Yeah.
tubes and wires, and I produced like zero milk, because I think my body was like, you're exercising,
Yeah.
we're not gonna produce. It was terrible. But so if you're someone who really likes to get stuff done and really has a hard time sitting still, like me, breastfeeding is really gonna challenge you
Yeah.
in unexpected ways.
That's definitely an interesting perspective, because I've never heard anybody say that before. I've always only heard that it hurts. Like, it hurts really bad.
It hurts really bad for the first 48 hours. Sorry, I'm really glad you mentioned that. The first 48 hours, it feels like daggers. I mean, it's like awful. I mean, this is uncensored, right? So I'm not
Yes.
sugarcoating. But then it goes away.
Okay.
So it's like when your baby's first born, I think the breast milk you have is called, I can't remember what it's called. Colostrum. Oh, and this is the other really weird thing. Sorry, we'll talk about this here, but
No, it's
your
good.
baby poops
Meconium.
and it's so weird looking.
Yeah. It's like black tarry.
Yeah, it's
Their
bizarre.
first poop.
So just know that that's also normal. But so you have this meconium, and I think during the period that you have that, and your body's just like figuring out how to breastfeed, and your baby's figuring out how to breastfeed, your nipples are really sensitive, and it really hurts. And I remember sitting there being like, okay, I'll pretend to do this for like a week, but if it's gonna feel like this, I don't think I can do this for a prolonged amount of time. And I was like wincing when he latched, like it was that bad. But then when your milk comes in, at least that was my experience, like your breast milk, after the, I keep forgetting the name.
Colostrum.
I blacked it all out. After the colostrum, then
Blacked it all out, I love it.
then it doesn't hurt anymore. And then it's just like seamless. And then, by the end I was just like, I could breastfeed my baby without even winking. And my big advice here, big tip, which again was never talked about or told to me, nipple cream.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions on?
I really
ones you
liked Mother Love nipple cream.
Mother Love,
yes.
okay.
Because it's all natural, it just has beeswax, and it's totally safe for your baby to eat too. If it, don't ask me why, but it is. You can read the labels and the instructions. And I made sure that even the first time my midwife was like, here, try breastfeeding. I was like, nope. Let me get this nipple cream. And because I had someone tell me, like, just don't ever breastfeed your baby without nipple cream. So put it on before and after.
Okay, good to know.
Before and after. And I did that every time he breastfed. And I mean, he was breastfeeding like, how many times.
Yeah.
Like 9 times
lot.
a day. Yeah, a lot. And so I was just going through this stuff, but I never had chapped nipples. I never had, after that initial pain, I never had pain. And I wanted him to like not even know what my nipple tasted like without cream on it. So I was like very adamant about it from day one. And I think that's a great tip. And then, after a couple months, I didn't even need the cream anymore because we were just so...
You had it down.
Yeah, but I think that's a great tip.
No, those are really good tips. And it's nice to hear that it hurts, but eventually that pain will go away. And then the last thing I want to talk about is postpartum depression and anxiety, because I also heard that there's such thing as postpartum anxiety.
Like worrying your baby's something's gonna happen to him? Or...
I don't know because I've never had it, but I did have a friend that had it and she said it was awful. And I didn't even know it existed until she told me about it.
I mean, I think one of the reasons a lot of women, well, there's a couple things, right? Like this cocktail of hormones that you were on for your whole pregnancy, gonzo. So you're kind of just in this slow decline of, all this special hormones that had built up during your pregnancy. So your whole body's just kind of recalibrating.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, and then there's a lot of emotions about like caring for a new baby, which is really demanding. A lot of women don't enjoy their birth experience, meaning like that they didn't have the birth they wanted.
Oh,
right? Like they were, you know, forced to have a C-section and they didn't want to, or they, you know, there was interventions they didn't want, or they wanted interventions and they couldn't have them. Like, so kind of processing your birth experience like needs a whole chapter and months, and recovering from the hormones like needs a whole chapter and months, and you just don't get any of that time because it's like you have a new baby and it's a lot. We can talk about sleep deprivation too.
Oh gosh.
And that I'd say, you know, it was not as bad as I thought.
Oh good.
Really wasn't. People scared me. Someone told me I wouldn't sleep for 3 years through the night.
What an awful
thing to say. No. I got my baby sleeping like through the night basically at 4.5 months. I know every baby's different, every mom's different, but, and I was only really getting up once to feed him in the middle of the night. So again, like you can choose to do whatever you want, but I was really pro like teaching him to self-soothe and sleep. That didn't mean cry it out necessarily. It was just like I wouldn't feed him before I put him to sleep so that he'd learn to fall asleep without the breast, just like little things like that. And it really helped make a difference. So the sleep wasn't as bad, but I felt depressed because I was doing so much breastfeeding. I felt like no one could take care of the baby but me, that everyone just kept throwing like a crying baby at me, that I couldn't do anything or work out or go outside or have any life because I was just sitting on the couch breastfeeding this kid. And I think if I have another baby, I just am so better prepared to know what that's like. And I'm just gonna be like, I have, you know, 6 seasons of some show that I'm excited to watch, or 70 books that I'm excited to read, and you know, just to try to really embrace it, because I mean, I knew that it would be hard to raise a newborn. I just didn't think it would be so much sitting, and that I'd feel so alone doing the exclusive breastfeeding thing because no one could help take care of him.
I even had someone I personally know who had the baby and afterwards like was not able to bond with it, didn't want the baby, like it was her postpartum depression was like really bad, and it almost made her like suicidal. And
the baby can't smile at you until I think they're at least 6 or 7 weeks old. So it is kind of a huge shock to your family, like you and your husband, and you're not getting like this positive feedback from the baby until a lot later. So I think your love for your child just grows and grows and grows and grows. Yeah. And I've heard a lot of women describe it that way. So, I mean, if you are feeling like you're not like, I don't love my baby as much as I should right off the bat, like it's okay. Like that love really grows. And
yeah. And I think that some people think like immediately once they have the baby that like, you know, you love it so much. And some people do, I think like, but just know that there's some people out there, and sometimes it is part of postpartum depression or whatever, that, that maybe you don't have that bond with your baby. Yeah, and but she has it now.
I do.
No, not you. I mean like the girl.
Oh, the girl.
The girl has it now. No, yeah, she like, it was bad. And then, but then after, you know, time and the postpartum went away, like depression, she was fine. So
one thing that was really interesting was right after I gave birth, because I gave birth on all 4s at home, my husband caught the baby, thank goodness, but I didn't want to turn around right away. And I guess this is actually a thing that's pretty common, because I knew when I turned around, my whole life was different.
Yeah.
And I could hear him crying, and I feel almost bad because I took like a minute. I was like, you know, because I just knew that was the end. And I think, you know, you're embracing this new life, but you're also mourning
your old one.
Whole section of your life that's over, and you know, you need to make space for that. And I know for me, you know, like yoga meditation has been the #1 outlet to make space and kind of process all those things. But you know, it's normal. It's really, really normal to
feel those crazy feelings.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on my channel and like giving us all this really great advice that I really needed, and hopefully is very helpful for you guys. Also, please don't forget that we are going to be doing some really cool videos on Brett's channel. Make sure to go subscribe, watch those videos, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And again, thank you for being here. Did you want to, is there anything you wanted to add at the end?
No, I'm so excited for you. And guys, if you want to practice yoga or meditate, you know, you can find my videos, and I can't wait to teach Shannon some prenatal yoga and relaxation coming up really soon. So
thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, turn your notification bell on. I'm sending you all my love and all my positive energy, and I hope to see you in my next video.